What's up, family? I'm Juan Castillo, and when I'm on social media, my favorite show to watch is the Don't Shoot the Messenger weekly podcast. Chris G, Professional Sutton, Rucker Report delivers sports the way it's supposed to be, real and authentic. So get ready to be entertained. My boys are ready. I'm ready. Let's go.
Don't Shoot the Messenger podcast. I'm your boy, Professional Sutton.
And I'm your boy, Chris G.
And it's your boy, the Rucker Report, a.k.a. Jerry.
Ready? This is what the greatest thing about sports is. You play to win the game. Inch by inch, play by play, till we're finished.
This is Don't Shoot the Messenger podcast.
X about me, X about me.
With Professional Sutton.
You already know.
Chris G.
My homie.
And the Rucker Report.
My family, what up?
They for real.
All straight with no chaser.
Let the games begin.
Let's go. Don't Shoot the Messenger podcast.
Yeah, welcome to another edition of Don't Shoot the Messenger podcast. I'm your boy, Professional Sutton.
And I'm your boy, Chris G.
And it's your boy, the Rucker Report, Jersey.
Yes. Also, before we start, we gotta thank Uncle Juan and our sponsors, 94.3 WYBC.
The rhythm of the city.
Yes. Also, we want to give a shout out to my baby and her company, Spire Rentals. So when the summertime come up, gonna be popping. We're gonna make sure that you can enjoy the bathroom outside without people tracking up your house and coronavirus and all that there. So, but I'm happy. I got my brothers. It is a pretty decent Sunday. But before we start, I just want to say I love my brothers, man. I lost my mom a few weeks ago, and my boys have been there from not even an hour, a second. As soon as it happened, it was there. So I want to thank y'all publicly, and I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. I wanted to say, I know y'all don't need it. I know y'all like, it's nothing. But I want everyone to know what you guys mean to me and just being there for me. I appreciate you guys, man. Really, I do, man. And letting y'all know this goes beyond podcasting, and these are my brothers for real. So just want to
come on, man. We love you, man. And it was never a question, fam. It was just never a question, man. And you always got our support.
Yes.
From my family to you and yours. And come on, man. That was beyond anything.
I know. But like I said, I definitely appreciate y'all being there, man, because it was tough. But doing a podcast, this is what helps me go on. This is what helps me stay motivated. So I appreciate you guys all the time, every day, and twice on Sundays. Thank y'all so much. Larry Love in the building. Handball, I'm going to send you an invite when we talking NBA, because we got to talk about your Nets, man, possibly getting James Harden. So we're going to talk about that, but we're going to jump straight into it. Last night we had an excellent fight, Terrance Crawford versus Kell Brooks. Again, I'm only going to chime in on a little bit because Chris G, he's the boxing aficionado. Ruck has knowledge of boxing. I just listened to it. But last night, Chris, we were watching Bud Crawford do his Thug Dizzle. I'm going to pull it up because now I know how to do this on YouTube. But we're going to pull it up. And what did you see from Bud last night that really stuck out? Or you already was like, yo, listen, this is what he does anyway?
Well, I'll say that's what Bud Crawford does. I mean, am I surprised? I would say the only thing I was surprised about, that I don't even know if I want to say surprised, but this was a test to see how Terrance would look against a big welterweight. And, people have made, my boy Henny Bub, shout out to Henny. Obviously, y'all know him. Yes, he said Kell Brooks was washed. So he wasn't ever really concerned. He just thought that Kell Brooks was washed because, in the fight game, you could be a great fighter and one or two fights can kind of take it away from you. And he kind of had that back to back. He had to fight. I don't know why my glasses look so crooked. On the screen, it's killing me. Okay, we're gonna do that right now. Anyway, he fought Triple G at the time where Triple G was an absolute monster. Nobody wanted to fight Triple G. And what Kell Brook did was he moved up from welterweight, 147, and went to go fight Godzilla at the at middleweight. That's 2 weight divisions. He's 147. He skipped 154 and went right to 160 to fight Triple G. And Triple G wound up breaking his face. He broke his orbital bone. I think his left orbital bone. And
let me know if you can see this on the screen, Chris.
Yeah, I can see it. It looked good.
Okay.
And but before he broke his orbital bone, I mean, that fight went pretty deep. If I'm not mistaken, that fight went 8 or 9 rounds. And and not only did it go 8 or 9 rounds, but he was competitive, and he kind of exposed Triple G for a few things. And you know what, Larry Love, we're gonna get on your Ravens. And this is a PlayStation headphone set too. I ain't even gonna but it works the best. But anyway, But anyway, so he kind of exposed Triple G for some things. But like I said, he broke his face. His very, very next fight, instead of kind of like trying to get your groove back after having a punishing fight, even though he did well at points, he fought Errol Spence Jr., who is not a middleweight, but he's an even bigger welterweight than Kell Brook, and another power puncher. And he just, everybody knows Errol Spence. Errol Spence is just a dog. And Errol Spence broke his other orbital eye socket. So, he took some time off from that fight. He had 2 back-to-back really tough fights where his face got damaged. And he took some time off. He fought a couple, journeymen per se. And then he went up against another elite fighter in Terrance Crawford. And, he looked good in the beginning. I'm not going to lie. The first 3 rounds, he looked like the bigger, stronger fighter. He was controlling the distance with his jab. He was giving Terrance some problems. But when Terrance sat down on his punches and he applied some real pressure, he couldn't hold up anymore. And what it showed is that, I think people have made the comparison, or let me not say the comparison. People have made the notion that the reason that they would pick Errol Spence against Terrance Crawford is because Terrance is too small. Stop. Because Terrance is too small. And he's not a big welterweight, which he's not a big welterweight. But he shows that he's got the power to fight a big welterweight and to even get the stoppage on a big welterweight. So now it just gives you even more intrigue to a potential Errol Spence versus Bud Crawford.
Well, listen, I just want to say I'm excited because I just found this feature out. And it looks really good with Chris talking. Last night, man, again, Bud makes it look so easy. He really does. He makes it look so easy. Kind of like Floyd. When Floyd was fighting, people always said, well, Floyd didn't fight nobody. But you have to remember that Floyd is so good that Floyd makes it look easy. But it really is not that easy, What I want to ask you, Chris, with the Spencer and Garcia fight.
Spence, not Spencer.
I'm sorry, Spence. I apologize. That's why you're there. Because I don't know. With the Spence and Garcia fight, what are you expecting from that? Because we got Spence who had that car accident, thank God he's here. And you got a hungry Garcia. What should we expect with that fight?
It's kind of tough to say. Obviously, we were talking about it in the chat room. Not the chat room, sorry, in our personal chat. Uh-huh. It's tough to say. Listen, if Spence is what he's always been, I don't even see this fight as competitive.
Okay.
Like, Spence is that much better than Danny Garcia. You know what I mean? I don't want to knock Danny Garcia, though. Danny Garcia at one point was the best welterweight.
Okay.
That's, you go back maybe 3-4 years ago, somewhere around that range, 3, 4, maybe even 5. He was the best welterweight at the time. People had some questions, but at one point he went from 140, he was the king of the 140, and then he went to 147, and he was the king of 147 for a time. But after a loss to Keith Thurman, and then after a tough loss to Sean Porter, he was not. And then the rise of Errol Spence and of Terrance Crawford happened. Here's the thing: Danny does a lot of things good. He does nothing great. There's nothing about Danny that's like, yo, he does this one thing phenomenal. No, but he does do everything relatively good. I mean, he doesn't have. I would if there was one thing I said that would be maybe bad is he's a bit flat-footed. He's not great. He doesn't have great footwork. Now, I wouldn't even say he has good footwork. He has, competent footwork. If I had to like put a, characteristic on it, that's what he got as far as footwork. But other than that, he does everything pretty solidly. And, he's a strong guy. He's got good punching power, real good punching power. Anything to like scare you? No. But with this being Spence's first fight after a major accident where he was knocked out, and me and Ruck talked about this last night. Here's the thing with knockouts. You never know how much they bother you until you get the first one. You ever notice when like a boxer, like whatever boxer you like, he's been boxing and he gets knocked out. And then all of a sudden, he's never been knocked out before. And then all of a sudden, every now and then, he get knocked out again. It's just like that first knockout. I feel like it takes some integrity away from your total, competency in the ring. And he was knocked out in that car accident. He didn't know where he was. He didn't even remember that he was in the hospital once he got out. So, and if you ever watched the car accident, which you could pull up, but that's to your discretion if you want to.
So they actually showed the actual car accident?
Oh, the car accident is it came out, I would say maybe a couple days after the I don't even know if it was a couple days. It might have been like the next day.
Oh wow.
It was a restaurant that had the camera angle and they had like posted it so you could see the accident. The car flipped too many times to count. He got ejected out of the car. So, you know what I mean? Him just being here is a blessing. They also got pictures of how he looked when he was in the hospital. I mean, it wasn't a good accident. And I just don't know. I got to commend Spence for saying, I'm not taking no tune-up fight. I'm going right in with a top contender. I don't need no tune-up fight. I'm good. I got to commend him for that. But also, there's been other boxers in history that after accidents, motorcycle accidents, car accidents, they just it was something different about them. You know what I mean? Because it just, that type of trauma, it just takes something away from you. I don't know. Maybe you gun shy. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. So now, when is that fight supposed to take place?
December 5th is the Garcia Spence fight. I'm excited to see it. If, like I said, if there had been no accident, I would say he is going to. Now Danny's a solid fighter, so I don't know if he would knock Danny out. I don't even remember Danny really ever being like wobbled in a fight. Honestly, Danny is a sturdy fighter. I mean, you could beat him. I've seen him beat convincingly. I would say by. I mean, Sean Porter was a close fight, but I don't think it was that close. Keith Thurman, I thought, won like the first 7 rounds and then kind of went on cruise control. And you know what? Keith Thurman did kind of wobble him in the second round of that fight, now that I'm thinking about it. But, I mean, it was real quick. It wasn't nothing that you could, like, say, like, he wobbled him and then he jumped on him and tried to finish him. It was just like a quick little, maybe a little stinky leg, and he was right back. So, he's a solid fighter, so I don't even know if Spence was 100% healthy, if he would be able to stop him. But if Spence was healthy, and we don't know if he is yet, I would say Spence wins this fight easy. But there is an air of like maybe Danny can win it because you don't know how well Errol Spence is going to be in his first fight back after a major car accident.
And that's what I'm worried about. Like, how is he going to be after having a major car accident? After, again, not only getting your body ready, but your mind, like you said, that trauma, because you don't know where you might be. You don't know where he might be, the lights. You don't know what might trigger. So this is a very interesting factor. And, like you alluded to, if there had been no accident, you're like, oh, Spence got this. You can definitely book it. However, with the accident, it does bring on another level of what is going to happen, or another level of, I don't know, kind of suspense, if you will. So,
well, listen, and you know why? And you know the reason it brings the most suspense. The reason it brings the most suspense is because as boxing fans, that's what everybody wants. Everybody wants to
yes,
see the Spence versus Crawford fight. Now,
yes,
how that fight plays out, I don't know. It could play out a bunch of different ways. You know what? I thought it would play out one way because of how big Spence is. But after seeing how we fought Kell Brook, I don't even know if it'll play out that way. And I still even had it close. I had it going like a decision coming down to like the last, I would say like the last 3 or 4 rounds. Obviously the championship rounds as well, where somebody would have to really just like bully the person to get the dub out. You know what I mean? But it would still be like this close, great fight. I don't know how it would play out now, honestly. Well, nobody does, but my theory of what I had in it is it changes from fight to fight when you see those two fights. So, we'll got to see. But that's the only reason why people are nervous, because what you don't want is you don't want Danny Garcia to ruin Spence versus Crawford. That's what you don't want.
Because you know what? Because the fight, again, and I'm speaking from just the average watcher here. I'm not, anyone of your caliber when it comes to boxing, but the Fury, not Fury, but the Wilder and
Anthony Joshua
fight.
Wilder fight, right?
Yes. So that fight, nobody cares about that. Now it's like, all right, whatever. They both lost. We wanted to see these undefeated Titans, bump heads, but that's not happening.
I'll say this about that fight. Wilder ruined that fight. I know Joshua lost first, but here was the difference. When Joshua lost, first of all, there was documented proof that Joshua shouldn't have been fighting that particular fight. And he took it anyway. He lost. He didn't make any excuses. He didn't come out with this video talking about, he's been cheated or the system is rigged against him. He didn't do any of that stuff. He just lost, but he came back. But here's the key point. But he came back and he beat Joshua. He beat Ruiz easily. He beat him easily and put himself back on track, where Wilder, for all intents and purposes, he lost the first fight. I know I hate when people say it the wrong way. He lost the first fight. He got a gift for getting a split decision. A draw in the first fight. That was a gift.
Yeah.
And then in the second fight, he lost, and then he comes out with all of these excuses about how
his water was poison.
His water was poison, and he got his Deontay Wilder dick sucking fan club who thinks he was cheated and all of that stuff. If he could have if Wilder could have just said, "Yo, I lost," try to get a third fight and then redeem himself, that fight would be right back on track. Because in the heavyweight division, listen, it would be great to see undefeated fighters go at each other, but anybody can lose in the heavyweight division. These are big dudes, man. One shot. It's not like welterweight division down. One shot in the heavyweight division, even from bums, could change it. Let's not forget, Hakeem Rahman beat Lennox Lewis. Had Lennox Lewis on skates.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere. And then he avenged his loss. And, listen, Buster Douglas, who wasn't this great fighter when he beat Tyson. Knocked Tyson. You know what I mean? It's just, in the heavyweight division.
Rocky Marciano. He beat Joe Louis.
Rocky Marciano is different. That's different. I don't want to get into Rocky Marciano. But
he beat Joe Louis ass.
Joe Louis was 137 years old, okay? And I know they was joking. And listen, and I was see, you get me started. And I know they were joking in Coming to America. But Joe Louis was way past his prime. Like he was just fighting to support himself at this point. I hear you, Uncle Juan. Yeah, he was just fighting to support himself at the time. He was not. Right. If Joe Louis would have fought Rocky Marciano when Joe Louis was in his prime, it wouldn't be competitive. Rocky Marciano was in this sweet spot of boxing. Like he was right in between, like the greats. And I know a lot of people, some people consider Rocky Marciano great, and he does have some good losses. He does got some good wins over
Raymond
people
Bennett.
like, what's up, Raymond? He got some good wins over people like Jersey Joe Wilcott. Obviously, you know, Ruck know about him. He was there back when he got good wins against Ezra. What's Ezra's last name?
Y'all stupid.
he's got some like decent wins, but like the greats were either past their prime or before. You see what I'm saying? Like he was after Joe Louis, even though Joe Louis was still fighting, and all of them, Joe Louis, Max Baer, what's his name? James Broderick, all those guys. He was like right after them, but also right before, you know, Muhammad Ali, Sonny Liston, and all. Like he was in a real sweet spot.
Well, Chris, I don't want to cut you off.
My opinion.
Because
Charles, yes, Ezra Charles. There you go. No, I couldn't remember.
Anthony is on. I want you to tell him about the group and what you were seeing and what you were saying.
His group. I love Ant because Ant brings up good conversations.
Yes, he does.
But some of the stands, and this is the reason why I don't be commenting. Some of the stands in Ant's group, they are ridiculous. The fanboys, and Anthony knows who I'm talking about. And he
shouts out to Sean.
Boys in his group, sometimes like they're not being logical. Like it's like, all right, you like a fighter, that's cool. You like a fighter, that's cool. But you gotta be authentic. You gotta be real about it. Like boxing is corrupt. There's truth to that. But I mean, goddamn, the whole system ain't against people. I'm just saying. That's it gets very annoying. It gets very annoying.
I just wanted to put it out there because I think it's funny. He's like, man, I love Ant Group. Shouts out to my brother Tom. He's like, but man, some of them dudes, man, I don't know. I was like, listen, I said, you got to say it on air. You got to say it on air. You got to say it on air.
I don't know. Like the excuses and like sometimes they're just like, here's the thing, right? I'll say instance for the Kell Brook versus Crawford fight. He said he can't. No, I know you can't. I know you can't. I know you can't. I know you can't. But I'll say for instance, like when Kell Brook was fighting, everybody was saying Kell Brook was washed, and there's some validity to that. But and obviously once the fight happened, you saw how it played out. But there wasn't no hardcore evidence that he was definitely washed. Like he was a tough fight against Triple G, even though he lost. It was a tough fight that a lot of people thought he was winning until Spence stopped him. And then we hadn't seen him fight. Now, was he a shot fighter? I think he is a shot fighter. Because I don't even think the shot that he got caught with was that like heavy. So I think he is a shot fighter. But at the same time, it was like, at least give him a chance to prove what he is. And coming out in the beginning of the fight, it was like, he looks like the stronger guy. He looks like the bigger guy. Now, listen, Terrance is a special fighter. And I always was picking Terrance because I always pick special over size or whatever the case may be. And he showed why he was special. And that's what she said. That's what she said. And that's not to be challenged. But at the same time, it's like, at least give him a shot to show where he's at before you just say, oh, it's a cherry picking fight, or oh, he's washed. We don't want to see. And people acting like Bob Arum isn't part of the problem. But you know what? People acting like promoters in general aren't part of the problem of why we don't see Spence versus Crawford, or why we don't see the biggest fights made. You really have to take all options away from promoters to do some cross promotion with their big fighters. It's got to be like, this fight is so big and it's going to make so much money. There's nothing we could do. We have to have this fight go on. You know what I mean? It's a whole bunch of things that play into when boxing matches get made, promoters and fighters and all the things like that. And fanboys, they just go with their side. Yes, Kell Brook, that's how I felt about Kell Brook. Kell Brook was a live dog. He was an underdog, but it was like, listen, there's some questions about Terrance Crawford that have kind of never been answered. Listen, even for Kell Brook being the fighter that he is after fight, we know he is a shot fighter. at least against the elites. It was like, yo, Terrance Crawford never went against a guy in the welterweight division as good as Kell Brook. Terrance Crawford never went against a guy as big as a welterweight as Kell Brook. We needed to, there was questions that still needed to be answered. He answered them with all spades. He ran a Boston on these motherfuckers last night. But at the same time, you know what I mean? Like, everybody was acting like he was just like this easy fight. Now, Terrance made it easy because Terrance is that good, but like it wasn't. Terrance answered a lot of questions, and I would say he even elevated his stock after that fight. That was a real good, solid win for Terrance Crawford last night.
I agree. So, again, as the fights happen, Chris is going to bring you, and he's going to have all the updates. Also, shouts out to my man, Tommy. Tommy be on it, man.
Yes, sir.
Tommy is on it when he talk about boxing. Again, I steal from Chris and Tommy, and I take it to everybody else to make it look like I know what I'm talking about. So that's what I do. So I want to talk about NBA. It's a lot of stuff going on in the NBA. And also we got our brother, and he changed his name to El Brooklyn Way. It was El Espanol, Larry Love. He's in the building, and Ruck. So NBA is almost upon us, man. December 24th, 22nd, NBA?
22nd.
Yes, sir. So Hambone, he is a New Jersey Nets, a.k.a. Brooklyn Nets fan. And I just want to jump straight into it. The Nets are talking about getting James Harden. Hold on. Where is your picture at? There we go. I'm about to say, come on, man. What you doing?
Just in case, man. Just in case anybody had any real questions.
Okay. Now, Brooklyn Nets.
Yes, sir.
Could possibly get James Harden. Already got KD, crazy Kyrie. How you like that?
Yeah, I don't.
Okay.
We got enough pieces right now. Like, we got enough pieces that we can do some real damage, not only in the East, but against the Western Conference teams. We have two players in Spencer Dinwiddie, Karis LeVert, who we can bring off the bench, give us a good scoring punch. Each of those guys can get between 15 and 22 a game off the bench on any given night. So there's no need to bring over James Harden. Now, everyone looks at him like, yo, those three players, like it's gonna be hard to beat those three players. But those three players are different than the three players that Golden State had. Because in Golden State, the ball moved. Yeah. So those three jump shooters were able to get catch and shoots, come off the dribble, come off the down screen, the floppy action that they call in the NBA. In Brooklyn, that's not what we have done. That's not what we have done in the past. We have been a isolation team. So when you bring over two isolation players and Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, where's that ball movement coming from? Now, you can do it with two guys because each of those guys can shoot the jumper. Each of those guys can create and find someone else. But when you bring in the number one isolation player in the league over to deal with two other really good isolation players, it doesn't help us out anywhere else. And then where does a guy like Karis LeVert fit in? The only guy on our group right now who would fit in would be Joe Harris. No one else would fit in with those three. You might say, well, what about DeAndre Jordan? DeAndre Jordan, who's he screening for? These guys don't use the screen. So now you get rid of him. And you're not going to throw the ball down low to him at all. So you have to understand, we have to understand that, there's too many good players in an NBA season doesn't really work. In certain instances when they fit and they can mesh, yes. But we don't have a Draymond Green to make those three guys mesh together. So whose job is it going to be for them to mesh? You're not going to see Steve Nash because he's sitting on the bench.
I mean, you got some great points, man. Ruck, man, I want you to get in on this, man, because you You know you were a Jersey guy, ex Brooklyn Nets guy. What do you think about James Harden?
First of all, I have never been a Brooklyn Nets fan at all.
I was gonna say that.
Never,
I thought that used to work for. Come on, man, stop it.
and listen, working for them and being a fan are two totally different things. You know what I'm saying? So no disrespect to Hambone, all disrespect included. No, I've never and will never be a Brooklyn Nets fan.
Don't worry, all taken.
So here's the thing. I think again, everything that Hambone pointed out was actually correct. I agree with it 100%. It makes sense basketball wise. Excuse me, with the points that he put out. But the concern I do have about everything that he said is that adding someone like James Harden takes away from what I feel is the best part of the Brooklyn Nets team, and that would be Spencer Dinwiddie and Karis LeVert. It would take away from not only what they would be able to produce on the floor, but in essence, one of them would have to go. So you would have to have somebody that is not there. One of the other things Hambone brought out in terms of who can make them gel, you got to think about it. Like he said, one of the players that definitely benefits from KD being there will be Joe Harris. Joe Harris will benefit greatly. Another player that I think is not a Draymond Green fit, but could also maybe fit a little bit in that role and will benefit from KD being there is Taurean Prince. Taurean Prince, I think he'll have a better season. I think Jonathan Allen will have a better season, but you add a James Harden and the Nets again, like Larry pointed out, their isolation team. You add again the number one isolation player that needs to play in pick and roll, and Kyrie and KD have not really predominantly been off the ball. They have been successful in stints off the ball, but not predominantly in that role, because you can't add James Harden to that team and still have Kyrie be the point guard. James hasn't functioned in the system where he hasn't had the ball, except for when he was in OKC, and you're talking about a different animal because he was younger. You know, you're talking about a back-to-back MVP, you know, that can go. So I don't think it'll be a good thing. I think other moves that we're looking at and that people are talking about, maybe James Harden in Philly will work. You know, James Harden and you know, I do like the James Harden for Ben Simmons trade, because I think if you get Simmons out of there, the remaining pieces that they have are really great complementary pieces to Harden's game. Tobias Harris is a great complementary piece. Richardson is a really decent shooter. I think it puts Embiid in a different position where he will be more back to the basket than anything. But me and Chris was talking, and one of the things that Quet, that was me and you. One of the things that I actually like the idea of Russ going to Charlotte.
Oh yeah, we were talking about that.
I think that could be a great thing, especially when Charlotte has now reached out to Indiana about Miles Turner.
Oh, now if they get Miles Turner, then that's a little different.
So it makes them a different animal too. You know, I think, you know, as everybody knows, we got the Knicks are always going to be in the discussion because of all the expiring contracts they got. They can actually, you know, take on a big contract like a Russ, like a CP3 or something like that. So, I mean, it's going to be, I think now what we're going to look at, and Chris had alluded to, we talked months ago, how the West is going to be totally different. I think with some of these shiftings in the East, I think it's not going to be a given anymore that Boston and Milwaukee could end up in the finals. You know? So
can somebody help me understand the Russ to Charlotte thing?
Well, I think with the Miles Turner addition, I think that's what was going to make it more appealing.
Well, I mean, Charlotte is well, you got to look at it this way too. Charlotte is probably very off of the Scary Terry project. They're probably really done with that. Mike loves Russ. You know, he's on Brand Jordan. Russ has done very well in small market cities. So it works. And then they have a lot of young pieces in Charlotte too. And again, not for nothing, it's the East. You know what I'm saying? So we ain't talking about it's the West, it's the East. And then take into consideration too, Russ, when KD left, remember MVP back-to-back triple-double seasons. So it ain't like he can't get it done.
And I'm a slide to Chris, and I definitely agree with you, Rutt. So I'm hearing some rumors, and please, you guys, can correct me if I'm wrong, but DeMar DeRozan, I heard that the Spurs and Lakers are in talk. Also, Dennis Schroeder, talk with LA as well. So many things going on, Chris. What is, chime in if you will, if you want, on the James Harden or just some of the LA talks or just some other rumors that you hearing that are floating around.
Well, yeah. Listen, I heard the Miles Turner thing, but I also heard Miles Turner going to Boston. Actually, I heard Miles Turner and Victor Oladipo going to Boston. Gordon Hayward finding his way in Charlotte with Russell Westbrook, and Kemba going to Indiana. Now, listen, there's a hefty amount of trade talk once the draft is close, and the draft is on Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken, the 18th. So you're going to hear a lot of draft stuff talking. But DeMar DeRozan to LA is something that's been discussed. I've even heard the Warriors and the Spurs talking about LaMarcus Aldridge. That would send their second overall pick in Andrew Wiggins to the Spurs. That the Spurs want to do a total rebuild. That they just want to get a lot younger and get a lot of new assets and kind of start all over. We'll see how much that's how true that is. I'm trying to think of some of the other. There's been a lot. It's almost hard to keep up with. There's been a lot of trade rumors going around. I think the best situation for Russ and James Harden is Houston in both of them. Look, I don't think you can add. I think if you add James Harden to Philly, which I've heard since Daryl Morey's went out to Philly now, and you did James Harden, Joel Embiid, who else we got out there? We got Al Horford, and you got Tobias Harris. It's a good team, but I'm judging everything in, is this going to win a championship?
Right.
And I don't see it. I just don't see it. I don't see any situation where Russ or James Harden are added to a team and they win a championship, unless you're talking about James Harden's going to the Nets. And that, like Larry Love says, that causes a lot of problems. Now, I'm not so far off that I don't think it could work. You would have to change things around.
And you're giving up a lot of pieces, too.
Well, you do. But listen, you got Spencer Dinwiddie. Spencer Dinwiddie is already unhappy. Karis LeVert is already unhappy, and their roles are only going to diminish with Kevin Durant and Kyrie.
Crazy Kyrie.
Right. So if you added James Harden, to me, the piece that makes it unstable is Kyrie. James Harden could be a point guard who distributes the ball more. He could do that. Will he do it is the question. But can he do it? He could do it. And he would know he can't take 40, 50 shots a game. I think he's smart enough to realize that. Kevin Durant is so efficient. He's never going to be a problem on any team that he joins. Kevin Durant is an efficient 15 to 20 shot guy. He doesn't need more shots than that. Your problem would be Kyrie and James Harden kind of trying to figure out how many shots they're going to get and how well they'll mesh together. But I still don't like it. Like Larry Love said, at the end of the day, I just wouldn't like all three of those guys playing together. It just doesn't mesh well for me.
Hey, Chris, I definitely wanted to throw this at you real quick because, Pat Beverly had y'all fooled, man. So what you think about Russ being in L.A.? Because that's another thing that they're talking about, too.
Clippers, right?
Yeah, with not so playoff P.
Well, I'll say this: it's better. It works. It's a better fit than Patrick Beverly because Patrick Beverly got y'all fooled running around here doing a bunch of nothing. But at the same time, I got some questions about Paul George that I don't think he's the piece.
He got his PS5.
Yo, man, it's something about him.
Hairball, his girl got the ring first.
That is true.
He felt
that
confident.
is true.
He felt confident posting that too. Like, yo, this is a good post. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna post that. Like, I ain't just choke in the bubble. I'm gonna post that. Everybody's gonna think that's funny.
It is funny because we laughing at him.
Hey Chris, he posted that joint. Remember that press conference? He was like, "Hey Melo, they said they don't know who playoff P is."
Hey, I wish you had the Snoop meme because Melo was over there like, who? Playoff who? Because I don't know no playoff P. So I would say this. I would say it possibly could work, but they'd be real top heavy. And you know, the thing about Russ is he can be combustible. So, and I don't know how that's gonna play with the claw. Because you know, Kawhi is super mellow. And he just kind of just rolls with the flow. So I don't know.
But the one thing that has been coming out, and you know, since it's come out, I actually looked back and I looked at it. The one thing that Kawhi has always wanted and has always benefited from was a dynamic point guard. Now, Russ is a different type of point guard than what he's had, but think about it. He benefited greatly from Tony Parker. And say what you want, Kyle Lowry did his job in that 1 year with Kawhi, and Kawhi benefited greatly from that. So, again, because Pat Beverly got
two totally different point guards.
Because Pat Beverly got y'all fooled, you never know, man. Another dynamic, athletic, solid defensive point guard could be the one that they're looking for. I don't think that the Clippers will go back down the road of Chris Paul, which could actually work for them as well. But, you know, I think Russ could work. But the one thing that I also wanted to bring to the table is I love the fact that all of this stuff is coming out right now. And I guarantee you Pat Riley is sitting back talking to everybody in Milwaukee about how he can get Giannis there. Because ain't nobody paying attention right now. Jimmy got a haircut yesterday. He don't look like Django no more. Listen, man, Giannis could be in Miami. Heat.
I would say this about the point guard for Kawhi. The point guard that he has had have been totally different than what Russell is. Tony Parker at that time was on the down slope, and Tony Parker was just scoring in the paint. You know, his minutes were declining. At that point, they were playing Javonte Murray a little bit more. I mean, Tony was still being Tony, but it was just something totally different to where, and then Kyle Lowry was more of a complementary point guard. So that's what Kawhi has been playing with for his success. Complementary guys. Russ is not a complementary guy to anyone, and that was why I asked the question of what makes Houston a destination ground for him. The reason why I would say no is because Jordan wants to win now, and Russ has shown that he is not equivalent to winning. He's just equivalent to putting up numbers. Russell Westbrook doesn't mean winning. You look at the draft picks that Jordan has had in the past and the guys he has missed on, and I think you're starting to see what they're doing in Charlotte because they're like, all right, we need this. They started drafting guys from winning programs. And now you're about to start seeing them try to draft the guys that the experts are saying, these are the guys you should draft. You know, like these top three kids, like you're going to hit on all three. You're going to hit. After this, I mean, you know, good luck. Good luck after those three. But you're going to hit. So, like, I think they're going to sit tight. I think they'll probably get they're Charlotte's picking 3, am I right? I think Charlotte's picking 3. I think it's the Timberwolves, Golden State, and then Charlotte.
I think so too.
If that's the case, you're going to end up with LaMelo Ball. He is going to be a game changer. Yeah, Anthony Edwards is going to go number 1 because D'Angelo Russell has already shown that Minnesota, you don't need LaMelo Ball. Wiseman does not want to go.
Yeah, Charlotte is number 3. Yeah.
So you're going to end, and Wiseman is definitely going to go number 2. You're going to see LaMelo Ball fall to the Charlotte Hornets, and that is going to start the process. If that is the case, what are you going to do with Russell Westbrook besides put LaMelo Ball on the bench? Russell Westbrook is just a guy who can go to a bad team, sell seats, stack numbers, and make you a middle of the road, close to the bottom team.
Hold on, Hairbone, because you saying a lot of big words, so I'm gonna take them as disrespect. Right?
Hold on, real quick. So, controversial Raphael, he got a question.
Sir,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You with him? You smart tech? Both y'all smart tech.
Well, listen, controversial Raphael, shouts out to him. 3-point conversion, a podcast, radio, shouts out to him. He said that's not true. He said, was it Russ or PG that caused them to win in OKC, or was it Durant who disappointed late in the playoffs for OKC? Hambone, I'll have you answer that.
What you're asking is, you're just asking like who do you prefer at that time? You could, those who say that it was Kevin Durant are the ones who were feeling that Russell Westbrook was keeping them afloat. And then, I'll tell you this. I personally feel that Kevin Durant does not play an entire game. It was the same thing I used to say about Chris Paul in the beginning of his career. Chris Paul played in spurts, which means that at the end of the night, you look at his numbers. But if you look at his numbers spaced out over the game, he would give you 8 to 12 points in the first quarter. He would give you 4 points in the second quarter. He might give you 3 points in the third. And then in the fourth quarter, he ends up with 15 points, 8 assists. And the next thing you know, at the end of the night, he's got 22 and 12. Kevin Durant's game is somewhat the same. So I used to be a Russell Westbrook fan when I would say that he kept them afloat during those times. But in those games when they needed Russell Westbrook to actually make the proper play, he took it upon himself to shoot the basketball, which is a weakness of his, which means and tells me that Russell Westbrook cares more about his numbers and his own ego than winning. So I would say it is Russell Westbrook.
Let me make a real point to that, right? The worst thing that happened to Russell Westbrook was the NBA Finals against Miami. And the reason I say that is because, especially in the elimination game, at the end of that game, third and fourth quarter, Russ was damn near unstoppable. And he took it upon himself when he saw KD fade into the back, James fade into the back, that he was going to be the one to show, yeah, I'm still here. Not only did that catapult his confidence, but that made him say, I got to just go get it every time. And because he's been like that, he's never bought into the traditional mindset of a point guard. If he would have bought into that just a little bit more with his athleticism, he could have been a winner. I think what he showed in that last game was also the sign to everybody else that if I want to get mine, I got to go somewhere else because I see what it's going to be. And you can look at it.
Well,
James left, KD would leave, Serge would leave, and then Russ is there by himself. Now, for what the league is, I don't think that what Russ brings to the table is not about winning. I think it is about winning, but I think he has never, and Uncle Juan brought this point up, he's never really had a head coach that has been able to get him to a point where he slows down and he understands the impact that he could have. Think about it. It's been Scott Skiles, Billy Donovan, Mike D'Antoni. Where do you see anybody that's strong in there? The strongest thing that he had to a role model in his entire career was Mo Cheeks, who in itself was a scoring point guard too. Once you take away the years with Dr. J, Mo was a killer. So it's different for Russ. So while I agree, I don't think it's necessary like Russ can't do it, because I think he can.
Okay, Ruck, that is spoken like a true Oklahoma City Russell Westbrook fan. And let me tell you something.
Thank you.
I'm gonna give you the Stephen A. Answer. And let me tell you something. I like you, but here's why you're wrong. We got a big enough sample size, okay? And controversy, Ralph, what's his name? I think it was controversial Ralph. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Nah, that was his name. That was his name.
Oh, Raphael.
Yeah. Old Thunder fan.
Here, we got enough sample size here. Okay, we don't got to listen. We saw them play together, and whoever you want to blame it on, they both lost together. But what we do have in Oklahoma City are times where either Russell Westbrook or Kevin Durant had to play by themselves because one or the other was hurt. And this is what I know from that. When Russell Westbrook wasn't there, they won a playoff game and a playoff series. When Kevin Durant wasn't there, and this is when they both were still on the team, Russell Westbrook couldn't get a win. There you go. There you go right there. So I don't know what else to tell you, because that's what I boil it all down to.
Agreed.
I'm sorry.
Agreed.
Russ is a fantastic, athletic
Hey,
point guard. But
while I
about
drink
it.
my juice that Chris and Hambone spit in. Hey.
Listen, it's not really hate, though, because you're an OKC fan. You seen it. Listen, Kevin Durant by himself on OKC, when Russ wasn't there, and obviously James was already gone. People keep saying, oh, Russ need a head coach. You're a grown man, fam. You're a grown man. You don't need a head coach. You need to follow what the coach is putting in front of you. Everybody else could do it.
He won't listen to the coach.
Hold on. Let me get this straight. So all the other good players in the NBA that don't necessarily have a good coach, why don't they need a good coach? Why? What is it about Russell Westbrook that, he got to have a good, strong mentor for you to really get the good stuff out? Why don't you grow up, Russ?
Kyrie don't need a good coach?
I can answer that.
You know what?
Kyrie don't need a good coach?
If Kyrie needs a good coach, then he needs to grow the fuck up too. I'm not making excuses. I'm sorry, Larry Love. I know I just dropped the F-bomb on you. But I'm not making excuses for these grown NBA men players that, listen, the reason that they can't succeed is because they need a good, strong coach. No, fam. You on the team. You got the teammates that you claim that you mess with, that these your brothers, that these your fam. You see the system that's ahead of you. You can't put them together. So you need Greg Popovich to excel. That's what you need? Okay.
No, I can answer that for you, Chris. Here's why. Because Russell Westbrook is a fan favorite.
Yes, you are right. Favorite.
All of that hoopla, like, he plays with passion, he attacks the rim, like he plays with so much heart and all that stuff. Let me tell you something. Russell Westbrook got y'all fooled. Okay? Russell Westbrook got y'all fooled. Y'all think he out there doing stuff? He ain't out there doing nothing but hooping and hollering and trying to act all tough.
Hold on.
And you know what I'm saying? He does that. But if you pay attention, when that stuff gets done to him, what does he do?
He want to fight people.
He want to fight people. He want to act out and stuff like that because he is a front running guy. But what happens is you see these things and you go, oh my God, like, this dude, I'm dying for him to win a championship. Why? He doesn't want to win a championship because if he wanted to, he would have never gone to Houston if he wanted to.
Hey, Quet, do me a favor.
What's up?
Put that clip up of CEO when he was talking about Tony Romo. He said
Raphael, I'm going to actually add you in. He said he wants to get into Raphael. I'm going to send you an invite. So you
bring him in.
Yeah.
Bring him in. Because listen, people love the fans that love Russ. They love capping for him. It ain't no problem. He is a fun player to watch. But that's where it stops. He's a fun player to watch. He ain't a winning player. Because you know what? Everybody's always saying, well, you need a good coach. Yo, there's a lot of bum-ass coaches that got championships. And that's because the players
say that again. Say it again.
The players
and say it with your chest. Say it again.
The players.
Steve Kerr said that motherfucker spitting.
I'm just saying, there's a lot of just okay coaches. Don't get me wrong. The greats got multiples, and they're in the tier of their own. There's a lot of coaches that got a lot of players that got coaches. Oh, what's the name of that Laker coach that just won this year? He a great
Frank
coach.
Vogel.
He a great coach. Now, is Ty Lue a great coach?
Rick Carlisle.
Is Rick Carlisle a great coach? I mean, I'm just saying. Miss me with the he need a great coach.
Steve Kerr.
Listen, you can say a lot of things, but don't hit me with the Russ Westbrook.
Steve Nash.
Come on now.
So here's the thing, right?
Tony.
Again, I respect it to draw my brothers, right? And you're absolutely right. Like a lot of my zeal for Russ was because he was a former OKC Thunder, right? But here's the thing: we have seen it work both ways. We've seen it work where players have not had great coaches and they haven't been able to win. We've seen subpar players have great coaches or not great coaches and win championships too, because they were part of a good team. Just like you can cast the same aspersions about Russ, you can cast the same things about James Harden. You can say that he's not a winner too, because Houston has done nothing but load that team with talent since he got there, and he's isolated everybody as well.
Right? I'm with you. Listen, all the superstars can get this work. All the superstars can get this work. I won't exclude them.
I'm going to disagree. I'm going to disagree.
You can also say the same thing about KD. Now, listen, say what you want about KD, like Chris made his point earlier that he's going to fit anywhere because he's so efficient, but does he really fit? Because you're talking about somebody that was up 3-0 that couldn't get over the hump until he went to Golden State. You're talking about somebody that went to Golden State and in 2 years turned that locker room into turmoil.
Hold on, Rupp. Don't listen. You can make that point, but don't exclude Russell Westbrook from that being up 3 games. Don't you?
Hold on.
Don't you put that on Kevin Durant?
I'm not excluding him at all.
Okay.
Real quick.
But Russ never pulled the sucker move and he didn't leave.
Okay.
See, that's where the hate coming in. See, that's where the hate coming in.
Okay, hold on. Let me get control of the room. We got Mr. Controversy Raphael himself. Did you miss me? He want to chime in and he want to get some of his work. So, good brother, how you doing today, man?
I'm good, bro. Appreciate y'all, man. First of all, I'm a big fan of the show, man. So,
big fan of you too, man.
Hey, doubt. Appreciate it, man.
Now, you was in the comments and you had a lot to say, brother. So I'm gonna let you spit and do your thing.
All right. So enough of that comment stuff. Y'all bugging. Let me tell you why you bugging. So
okay.
I'm part of media, and I'm gonna tell y'all stop listening to media. Y'all, everybody fall into this media and what they say about players. So we talk about
Chicago Bears fan too, y'all. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh Lord.
Where we at?
Lord.
But we talk about Russ, and yeah, you're right. When it gets down to late in the game, Russ make bad decisions. We get that, but y'all try to make it like, oh, Russ is a team killer. He's not doing that. Again, like I stated in the comments, let's be real. When Golden State was down 3-1 to OKC, that wasn't on Russ. We saw Durant disappear late in the fourth quarter, miss all of his shots. We saw that. Russ was playing great. So you can't just put that on Russ. They got there. They should have won that game. I blame it on coaching as well. When they had PG, was that Russ or was that PG not showing up like he normally does? Why he got his name now that we've given him? So you can't say that was on Russ. And then you look at the times when Russ when he was in OKC, everybody left, and he brought that team to the playoffs there. You say, well, he didn't win. Okay, that's cool. I get that. I understand that. I mean, did you expect him to win? Did you expect him to be in the playoffs? Even with Durant, but still, it does right. And with your guy, with Durant, the guy, my man was like, well, Durant won and Russ didn't. I don't think nobody's disputing that Durant is a better player than Russ. So I expect that as well. My thing is what's my name? My man with the Rucker, the NFL reporter, like he was saying, when it comes to coaches, you need somebody, especially a player like Russ, where I don't think he had great coaching at UCLA. Then he comes to OKC. He never had that coach, never had that person say, all right, young fella, let's calm down. This is how you do it. No, we know he got one speed. We're going to go win. It's not about points. It's not about stats. If it was about stats, he would probably be worried about going 8 for 25 when he go 8 for 25 or 8 for 30. No, it's about I'm going to do anything I can to win. Why do you think Kobe and Jordan co-sign on his brother? Why do you think Jordan and Kobe, we talking about the two probably best players when it comes down to heart and wanting to win and do anything they want to win. We all know that they top 5. Well, you can say top 10. I think they top 5, both of them. But still, for them to co-sign and say Russ is that dude, like I don't understand where all the hate comes from. As far as
can I respond? Can I respond?
I don't get that.
Can I respond?
Sure, go ahead, Handball.
Oh, listen, wait. Tag me in when you're done. Tag me.
I got you. Hold on. Let's work in reverse from these comments. Like when you bring up like Jordan and Kobe, we understand that most of these times these NBA players' thought processes and comparisons to these players be absolutely wrong and full of friendships and knowing people personally and making sure that they do not say anything that is going to hurt another player's feelings, because they will run into these guys at different situations. That's first and foremost, okay? Second, when we talk about Russ and we talk about like the 3-1 lead that they had, during that 3-1 lead, Russ was still trying to empty his clip every quarter. So you cannot say it was just on Durant. It was on Russ too. Moving forward, once it was him by himself and he was making it to be the 7th seed and carrying on, you understood watching his game that it was strictly about the numbers. We can fake all of the stuff about him wanting to win. Well, he's pissed off and all that stuff. And you can do all that. And you can say all that stuff. And that stuff looks true on camera. But watching him on a nightly basis, you get to see it is not about winning. That's why when he went to Houston, why I'm always going to say, if he was trying to win, he would not have gone to Houston. Ruck, I'm going to text you later on your comments about James Harden because I totally disagree with what you were saying. But Chris, Air 5, you tapped in.
Oh, yeah, there we go. I'm in. Listen. No disrespect, but when I look at Russell Westbrook, and I understand why people are so connected to Russell Westbrook. He kind of plays the way that people like to see play. And I get that. So I don't ever dispute that. That's why I know why people got such like hard feelings for him. But in that 3-1, to get back to that 3-1 game, Kevin Durant had very good games other than game 6. Game 6, I will give you, Kevin Durant, that was one of those games where Kevin Durant didn't show up. And he had a really bad game. But let's see, it was game 5, game 7, he showed up. Kevin Durant was there. And I know Russell Westbrook has some horrid numbers in those games as far as the volume of how he was shooting, the percentages of what was going in. He was not doing the things that he needed to do for that to get a win. Now, with all that being said, they were going against a team that was highly motivated. Steph was on fire. Clay was on fire, especially game 6. So I'm not going to act like, they were going against bums or anything. But at the same time, Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant both they got to own their problems in that 3-1 collapse. I'm not going to absolve Kevin Durant from all blame, even though I thought he played well in every game except for one. But I'm not going to separate him either. I'm not going to be like, well, Kevin did his thing, but Russ was there all the time. Nah, they both equally didn't do what they needed to do to close out a 3-1 lead. That's the first point I want to make. So I don't ever like separating them. But when I do separate them, hold on. Okay, Cam, I got you. Sorry, that's my son. Now, when you do separate them, of just regular play. When Russ is just on the floor, when Kevin was hurt, or when Kevin was just on the floor because Russell was hurt, it was just way different. So I don't like the notion that Kevin don't show up in big moments. I won't talk about anything that happened with Golden State because that was just unfair for everybody. I mean, you could give Kevin Durant credit. He was the best player. He was the best player on that team, but that team was a level of stack that we might not ever see again. But when it was just him on OKC, when it was just Russ on OKC, I don't see a point where Kevin wasn't showing up and being the player that I know him to be. And I don't know why Russell Westbrook can't do the same thing, not necessarily in winning, because Kevin Durant is a more talented player, but why he can't just go, listen, I'm in this system and I'm going to do what my coach and my teammates require for me to do and not try to put it on. I need a certain type of coach to make me, the player that everybody who loves me wants me to be.
Chris.
Because then the excuses would stop.
But Chris, let me ask you this.
Go ahead.
I want to go with what you just said. You just said
no.
You just said when Kevin Durant did what his coach asked him to do, right? Which is score, be that guy.
Yes.
So you don't think that Donovan told Russ the same thing? We want you to score, and that's the point that me and NFL beat reporter, my man, the Rucker was saying. And when it comes to coaching, Donovan is not a good coach. If you looked at that Golden State Warriors, and again, let me clarify, I'm not saying in that 3-1 debacle that it was Durant's fault. I'm just saying if y'all gonna give Russ that blame, give Durant some of that blame too, like you just stated. I agree with that.
No, fair. Yeah, both should get blamed. Both should get blamed.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But as far as coaching, if you look at that series, I said it during a whole series. If you watch what they did, this is how the offense went. When whoever gets the rebound between Durant or Russ, then it's your play. So if Russ got the rebound, he brought it up and he ran his play, scored. If Durant got the rebound, defensive rebound, he ran his play and he scored. That was the offense. That's how it was. Even when Durant was by himself, it was score, Durant, score. When Durant wasn't there, it was Westbrook, score. Now we the first year I guess we got excited because we saw a triple-double. Then after that, he padding the stats. I mean, what do you want him to do if he's getting assists, getting points, and then with the rebound, which I got a chance to ask OKC when I covered the game, I asked him, are y'all letting him get the rebound because of strategy? Of course, and they say yeah, and the reason is when he gets the rebound, and what's my big white man? I can't think of his name right now. The center,
Steven Adams.
Adams would purposely let Russ get the rebound, not to pad the stats, but that started the break. Now when Russ get the rebound, he taking off. Now it's a fast break. It's an advantage. It wasn't about, all right, let him get his rebounds, let him pad his stats. Russ wasn't about that. Like I always say, if Russ was about his stats, Russ wouldn't care about going 3 for 38. Like you see some people do at the end.
He doesn't.
They won't take shots because they don't want to worry about messing up their stats. That's not Russ. Russ is, I'm going to win. That's why Kobe and Jordan always said, that's that dude, because it's all about winning. Same way as Kobe. Kobe's just a better player. And that's all I'm saying.
But hold on, hold on one second. Was Billy Donovan, and I'm not saying that Billy Donovan is a great coach. I don't believe that. I think he's an okay coach. He's a good regular run-of-the-mill coach. But was he a good coach this year? Because ain't nobody have OKC getting to the playoffs, let alone getting a 4 seed. But with Chris Paul,
I put that on Chris Paul
roster. Well, okay,
CP3.
And even if you do put it on Chris Paul, then why can't Russ? I'm not saying he has to play like Chris Paul, but why can't he just go, listen, this is the route I'm going to take. It's got to be Russ way or the highway. He needs to be able to conform to the talent around him to suit it best.
They got different types of games. We know that, but what did
That's
Chris
true.
Paul,
they got different type of games.
But what did CP3 do that Russ didn't do? Russ got them to the playoffs. CP3 got them playoffs. They lost. I don't. What's the difference? They different. They got different types of games, but what?
A big difference.
It's a big difference between them two, but the way they got to the playoffs was different. If I'm not mistaken, Russell Westbrook got them to the playoffs at like a 7 seed. 7, 8 seed, one of the two. I can't remember.
I think the first year he got him a 6 seed. I think it was
maybe even a 6 seed. I think you're right on that. Chris Paul got
the biggest difference. Oh, go. I'm sorry, Chris. Go ahead.
Get your point. You going the way I'm about to go.
The biggest difference was that those younger players actually contributed to that playoff run, and those younger players actually grew. Gilchrist Alexander actually played a huge role in what happened, and you see what Russell Westbrook did to Victor Oladipo. And so that is a major difference in what was done.
So, bruh.
And wait, and let me ask this question about Billy Donovan. What makes us think that Billy Donovan is not a good coach because of the way because he had to coach Russell Westbrook? Because before Billy Donovan got there, we knew Billy Donovan through his track record at Florida was a good coach.
Listen, it wasn't.
But because as college coaches, they come in
because you can say as a college coach, he had some good strategies that helped him through that. But he also had in his championship years in Florida, he had elite level talent at every position. Right?
He only had 3 elite level guys. He had Joe Kim, he had Al Horford, and he had Corey Brewer, and then he had Adam Humphries, and he had Torian Green at the point guard position. Now, after those 2 years, he was not dominating college basketball like that.
He wasn't.
But would you say the same thing about Coach K? Would you say the same thing about Tom Izzo? Come on now.
He wasn't good at all after those 2 years. At all. Florida was not good at all. They were not the same program after his 2 runs. It wasn't just Joe Kim. It was Joe Kim. It was Horford. It was Brewer. It was he had a whole host of people that were there that propelled those 2 runs.
Was it Miller there?
The difference in the OKC team.
Mike Miller was before those guys.
Yeah. The difference in the OKC team this year as opposed to Russ's last year, and I will concede this point, they had a unbelievable leader and point guard in Chris Paul that allowed those younger players to develop. So you're absolutely right with that. And I think, again, that goes to the type of team that Russ had previous to that and what Billy Donovan kind of conceded to himself. Because, again, when he came in, when it was him and KD still there, the reason that they didn't do anything differently is because he didn't make any adjustments aside from being scared of KD and Russ.
Right.
He didn't make any adjustments at all. And that's a cornerstone of coaching. I don't care what you say. I think Mike D'Antoni is a horrible coach. But you know what he actually is good at? He can make on-the-fly adjustments that will work until somebody catches up.
Hey,
wait a minute. He don't make I don't agree with that.
Listen.
I don't agree with that.
But say what y'all want. Small ball worked for Houston for a good month and a half before the season stopped.
I'll give you that. I'll give you that, but I won't give that he's an in-game coach that makes an adjustment. Because if he would have did that, he would have stopped shooting all those threes in Game 7 against the Golden State and said, "Can somebody attack the right?"
But Chris, you got to say something like that. Him stopping or making an adjustment like that contradicts his whole style. So he's not going to do something like that.
And he won't ever be a winner.
And that's why Mike D'Antoni always fails up.
Yeah.
And that's why.
Real quick.
Can I make this? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm gonna let you go, Raphael. So we got 2 minutes because I know that the NFL is coming on. And listen, I do want to come back.
Nobody want to watch the NFL. This is the hottest show on TV right now.
Listen, the Ravens don't play until 8:00, so I'm all set.
The hottest on the block.
Listen, I know that, but I do like to stick to our regular schedule. But we will come back to this. But Mr. Controversy, please finish up your point, sir. Go ahead.
All right, I'm just to talk about what my man L. Brooklyn was saying as far as how he made
Hamilton. That's his name.
Better. I'm just looking at my bad, but Hamilton,
I know.
But you're right. He that's Chris Paul's game. He helped the young players, flourish. They got better. But you said that when you look at My mind's went blank. What's the guy that played with us? Oladipo. I don't know if you remember, but that year Oladipo's scoring average went up and he played better. And he said, even after he went to Indiana, came out, made a statement. I got to thank Russ. Russ helped my game grow. Russ was the one that got me to the point where now I understand the way to play basketball. I understand how to attack and be confident. Then you see what he did in Indiana. So you can't give me that Russ ain't help. No, that's what it was. But again, like you stated, Donovan is the coach where I'm a coach, depending on my talent. And of course, with Chris Paul, you do what you do. When it was Durant and Westbrook, do what y'all do. I'm gonna let you score, then you score. You score, no adjustments. When it was just Russ, you score. You do you. That's why I can't say that he's a great coach, because like my man said, no adjustment. So again, I just think that, yes, we know Russ is not that good when it comes making crazy plays and he's reckless sometimes. I get that. You're right. But I just hate the way the people always say, like, oh, Russ is not good. He can never help a team win, when they were winning. Now, when he was by himself, he had no team, but they still got to the playoffs when they weren't even expected to get to the playoffs. So that's all I'm saying, man. Let's just be fair to these players, bro. Let's just be fair. Okay.
Well, listen, I just want to thank everybody, man. Listen, this was a great discussion. I like how it kicked off. I like how, Raphael came in and said, hold on. I already know how we're going to Don't Shoot the Messenger bullpen, and I'm ready, baby. I'm ready. He came, guns are blazing. You know what I mean? He just starts shooting, asking no question. That's how I love it. And also, we got my man, L. Brooklyn Way, a.k.a. Larry Love, a.k.a. Hambone, who was in the building today. So I love it. I enjoyed it. Maybe later, fellas, if y'all want to get back on sometime this week, we can do that. We can also, we gotta do a show with 3-point conversion. I know we've been talking about it. So, these guys is big dogs down in Atlanta. Also, if y'all don't know, real quick, remember when Kaepernick was at the high school and he was throwing them passes? And remember when that reporter happened to stick that microphone in his face and ask him the first question? That was my man, Mr. Controversy Raphael, right there, baby. So shouts out to him, everything he was doing. So also, you can catch him. He's in the Atlanta Hawks locker room asking them questions too, man. Listen, he all over the place, baby. So shouts out to them. Shouts out to everybody that's tuned in. Just the love and support and everything. How everybody, always shows love. But on that note, we got to go. Thanks again for tuning to another edition of Don't Shoot the Messenger podcast. I'm going to let Mr. Raphael, close out, Hambone close out, and then we'll do our regular one. Mr. Raphael, tell everybody where they can find you at, sir.
Hey, man, first of all, I appreciate it, man, for letting me come in here, dog. I feel honored, bro. I've been wanting to come on for the longest, but I ain't that tight of late, man. Let me in. So, I appreciate that. I appreciate that to my fellas. Appreciate y'all, man. Like I said, I'm a fan. And y'all can follow me at Mr. Controversy 21 on all social media outlets. And then, I'm sorry, Mr. Controversy 21. And then also 3-point conversion at 3-point conversion. We everywhere. Like you said, we got the show every Saturday morning on the radio here in Atlanta, but we stream. And we on iHeartRadio as well, the 3-point conversion sports lounge, and also the 3pointconversion.com, man. We got the updates. Our updates be up faster than the Full Letter Network and everybody else, man. So make sure y'all.
I sure do stealing them. Borrowing them. I sure do.
Appreciate it.
No problem, man. Well, on that note, thanks again for tuning to another edition of Don't Shoot the Messenger podcast. I'm your boy, Professional Sutton.
And I'm your boy, Chris G.
And it's your boy, The Ruck Report.
Peace.
Don't Shoot the Messenger podcast. I'm your boy, Professional Sutton.
And I'm your boy, Chris G.
And it's your boy, The Rucker Report, a.k.a. Jerry.
Ready?
This is what the greatest thing about sports is. You play to win the game. Inch by inch, play by play, till we're finished.
This is Don't Shoot the Messenger podcast.
X about me.
With Professional Sutton.
You already know.
Chris G.
My homie.
And the Rucker Report.
My family, what up?
They for real.
All straight with no chaser.
Let the games begin.
Let's go. Don't Shoot the Messenger podcast.